Strong speaking book, and everybody booking. Okay, on my G code, drop the C in the ego. Wise as a serpent, got me watching every ego. All singing, I wanna fight through the people. We just trying to eat though. They make it illegal. We the real X-Men, and if you don't believe, bro, we as smart as Cerebro, pulling still like Magneto.
Shalom, shalom. I'm your host with the most, Judea, here at One Nation Israelite School. We starting up in a second.
I hope the Negroes come and listen. Negroes come and listen. The blacks come and listen. It's the real niggas come and
Shalom, shalom.
Wow. Hey, I mean, see, I ain't got no bill.
What's going on, people? For y'all who might be wondering, what's that? That's new moon, and I'm just, enjoying my meal while rewatching a new moon class that we've done together as a body. This one's from 2 years ago, to be exact. I enjoy the show. I enjoy my meal.
Just to show you. I know, and I'm telling you, gonna send it on just to show you, like, hey, the class is like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that was good. I was also like, what the fuck you doing? I looked up the phone. I know the goddamn well.
and then he said, oh, no, St. John, but this
All righty, shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, Most High Christ.
See, that right there that y'all heard, that was, like I said, a flashback from 2 years ago. Me and my brothers and sisters keeping the new moon. Good times, good times. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into it in a second. Shalom, shalom, happy new moon. Shalom, shalom. Yeah, I'm telling you, we was having a good ass time. If you listen to that audio, so tonight is a new moon. And be going about it a little differently. Enjoy this little piece, man. Y'all just listen up.
Most High in Christ. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. One Nation Israelites School. I'm your host of the Muslim Manager there. And we're coming to you on a new moon, bringing in a new moon. Y'all forgive me. We already know where we finna go with this, all right? So, I know y'all like, hold on, I never even asked that. I know y'all like the question, the Q&As, the question breakdowns. How many like the story times? So, I gotta give y'all a story time. I know we in the new moon, I just gotta give y'all a story time. So, I'm giving counts, right? I'm giving counts. Now, this is the level of sickness that's in Israel to this day that those people who call themselves leaders ain't touching. And like y'all know, for me, I am one of the people that speak heavy when it comes to child molestation, rape. You know what I'm saying? Well, I speak heavy for anything if it comes to our community. All I gotta do is get it. If I got roots to it, I can give it to you like it is. So I'm giving counsel. Now, mind you, molestation.
Mind y'all, this is a flashback from 2 years ago.
That same spirit is in the earth today about this. Think about the evil that it had to be before you devour your own child. We was talking about the man who just recently brought his daughter up. So now, imagine this level of hatred for your child and the mind of a pedophile in this. I'm counseling this girl. Now I'm wondering why she so rude. She seemed like everything I say she want to be argumentative. I was dealing with 3 of them. So 2 things come out of this. So when I finally say, okay, she just like normally I don't have that much patience. I was like, all right, get them out of here. I'm gonna leave, bro. Some say, all right, poke that bug a little bit. Let's see what the hell going on. She don't need to be kicked out. She need to be edified. And something in my spirit said if I kick her out, it'll be worse for her spirit than it would be. Right. So I waited and I poked a little bit. I poked a little bit. And we finally.
Now that, hold on. Because on this good here, new moon here, we got the highlight. When the scriptures tell us, because remember, we're going to always have the sick among us. We're going to always have people amongst us that need counsel, that need to be led back the right way, who it's just unfortunate. Being born of the nation of Israel, that's one of the unfortunate curses that you're going to always be. As long as the nation of Israel is populating until Christ's return, you're going to always have that one thing that you're going to without a choice, inherit the fact that you're going to always have people amongst you that are going to be broken, damaged, hurt, and need a healing. That's something that we inherit. We didn't inherit no money or none of that from our family. One thing we did inherit is the fact that we're going to have people around us that's always going to be damaged, hurt, broken, needing of healing. With that, we have to also have the knowledge. You got to have the knowledge to know when somebody's too far gone and it's a waste of time, and you have to cast them over that they be devoured, like how it says in Corinthians. And then there's a time where you have to, this person can be restored, and it's going to take work. That's why scriptures tell us, be seasoned with salt. How you are to address every man, how you are to deal in any situation, approach every situation. That right there, what you just heard me saying is, normally I wouldn't have the patience for it. I'd have kicked somebody out or kick them out. But something in that particular situation, I felt that it was more to it. It had to be dug out. That's that considering. Because what is the goal when you counseling people? You hoping to bring them into Christ. One of the new moon scriptures that we always pull, considering, when it comes to considering, let's get that real quick. Happy new moon, by the way. Hebrews chapter 10. What y'all ate for the new moon, man? What's on the menu over there? Hebrews chapter 10 in verse 24. Hebrews 10 and 24, and it reads, Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. Let us consider one another to provoke unto good works and to love. In situations where, like I said, I don't have patience for certain. I kick your ass, but in that situation, that was a act of consideration. So, as a nation of Israel, we must be considerate of each other and consider not only the people that are amongst us, but those who may be watching us from a distance. Make sure whatever it is that they're watching from a distance is something that's going to provoke them to love and good words. Ziti. Okay. I'm on my regular. I don't know why I put it in the to-go, but I just like doing it. I don't have to wash it. Just throw it away and keep moving. But yeah, man, let's continue playing some of this from 2 years ago. See where we going.
I was like, you ain't gonna never get married because you broken, you shameless, you hurt, you got a hurting thing you that you won't tell nobody, and you think that you're gonna be able to deal with men with that evil spirit, and no real man is going to ever settle for that. So then she said, if I know about men, especially the black man won't even protect his own effing daughter. My daddy used to give me $5 and ask me what I'm gonna do to keep it. Mm-hmm. Like, so she goes into like this rant while she's.
Y'all hear this? This what used to goes on. This what goes on in the nation of Israel. This is what the sister said.
With that evil spirit, and no real man is going to ever settle for that. So then she said, if I know about men, especially the black man won't even protect his own effing daughter. My daddy used to give me $5 and ask me what I'm gonna do to keep it. Mm. Like, so she goes into like this rant while she's crying and she's explaining how her dad used to basically molest her, touch her, rape her. And it's for the sickos who want to say he didn't rape her because he didn't just hold her down and take it from her. But you know, you get the right.
So now that's a touchy situation. Like I said, I just chose you're right, touchy situation. I just chose one that had a new moon title, but hey, maybe the most I wanted to go over again. So, this type of stuff that we see. All right, the type of stuff that goes on in our nation, man. The evil, the hatred that we have amongst our own, and that's why I said that we in the mode of trying to build brothers. Well, it's like it. We in the mode when we trying to correct women that they may be feasible pieces or Salakia. They may actually bring a benefit to a man as a wife and can actually be a pillar. But it's going to be hard. It's hard when, you know what I'm saying? That's why we can't. What this here shows us is that we can't ignore the men. It's just, that's what I'm saying. That's what it shows us, that when we just can't ignore the men, dog. Like, it's some men out there that are sick and wicked, and they add to the fuel of damaged women versus helping us clean them up and finding them heads and stuff like that. Because from my understanding, you know what is always told: a woman's first love is supposedly her dad. If you got that type of stuff going on, and look, let's go to it's just we know the laws in Leviticus. You're not supposed to be able to live with your daughter, but we'll see what type of go to Deuteronomy 28. I'm twisted, and I am dragging y'all out. I'm sorry. Deuteronomy chapter 28. So that the 28:54 to read, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother and towards the wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. I think we all understand that you have to have an evil eye towards your daughter to do something like that to her. I mean, let's be real. I mean, it's just some nasty niggas out. We know it's some nasty niggas. It's just some nasty niggas. But let's keep on going. We're gonna get into this new moon part. Enjoy this bizzle.
When people say certain things, I'm like, before you talk to Manager Debs, you hear these stories, it hits you when I'm telling it to you. Imagine you being in front of a person who's crying when they tell it. You ain't the one holding back tears trying to explain to them and trying to console this person and bring them back to you. All right, this is, you know what I'm saying? How you tell somebody who's telling you this, that, okay, it's pray. We come follow the Most High. We need to get behind leadership. You know what I'm saying? We do that. But that's why our number one enemy is, you should understand, if it comes to any religion, is Christianity. Why? Because through all of this stuff, when we get to these people and we come to show them the right way, they're so damaged, they don't want to hear that shit because Christian churches told them already, where's the first place that everybody is taught to run to when it gets hard and you want to find God? Run to the church. Right. So they run to the Christian church, and the Christian church say, God, Jesus will. Just pray, believe. Meanwhile, you're still going home getting beat up, raped, prostituted, whatever the case may be. So now when you get to the real process, how do we save you? Basically, our job is that much harder now. Right. So remember how you carry yourself in the light out there, because you don't know who's watching you. You know what I'm saying? But that was one story that came out. And I'm gonna dive into that later. I'm not gonna dive into it deep tonight. I'm gonna deal with that topic later. Then it's another one. So we counsel. When I tell you the level of sickness in Israel, we counseling. We talking. And dude's like, man, people think I'm crazy, but they don't know what the hell going in my head. They don't know the images that still pop up in my head. So, because everybody think he's crazy. But I talk to him, he got good goddamn sense. It's just, sometimes he just tick. And he was like, he said, what the F y'all know about this? He said, don't y'all hate? Like, I don't know, like, one moment we was talking to him, like, what the F y'all know about this? And he got quiet. He said, don't y'all hate when y'all sleeping and y'all get woke up because y'all mama hunching her boyfriend in y'all bed? Yeah. I was like,
oh yeah, I remember that.
They called me on guard. So what the hell going on here? Like, so like when he first said, "What the hell going on here?" So that's what he's like. He was like, "Y'all ain't never happened to y'all." I'm like, no, everybody like no.
Now, see, this happened 2 years ago, but coming back to it, it just brings thoughts to your head now, because it's like. That's why I like the fact that these classes were recorded, because it lets you remember, this happened 2 years ago on the new moon. So we was talking about that type of stuff going on then. And now that same thing we talked about back then is the answer to what we see now. Why do we have so many young children that are straight up sexual deviants? They becoming hoes at younger and younger ages and whoremongers at your younger and younger ages. You want to know why? Because their parents don't have no fucking discretion. All the stuff that's why I like watching. Why you, side note, why you think I know when people be stealing? I ain't gonna say stealing, but how do you think I know when people watched our classes and then went out and presented the same class? Because I go back and watch classes from years ago, last month, 2 weeks ago. I constantly go back and watch classes. That's why I know when brothers watch our class and then go put it out and feed it to the media and everybody else. But that's a side note. So I know y'all be watching because I'll be watching too. All right. But anywho, let's go to the next point. Back to what I was saying. What I was saying was that we did that 2 years ago, and now today you can see the results of that type of behavior. Mothers banging in their children bedroom with the bedrooms in their beds while the kids sleeping in the bed. It's some sick mothers out here. It ain't just some nasty niggas. It's that's why I said we gotta get rid of this deadbeat daddy thing because it's some ain't shit women. Some of you women want nothing but incubators. Only thing you did was incubate a baby. But as far as raising it, you didn't raise them. You probably what they say having a house, daddy sleep in and all that stuff. Yeah, what's that called? I don't even know what you call it because you didn't raise him. He grew up. I mean, he grew up. He found out everything himself the hard way. He grew up. You didn't raise him. There's some ain't shit women too. That the only thing you care about is a good night of sex, going out the club, and everything else. But as far as the real true love for your children, you don't give a fuck about your kids. So to get to the point of what I was saying, why do we have so many sexual deviants and whoremongers and thoughts today? And they younger and younger and younger because of sexual deviance and because of parents with no damn discretion. That's like, think about that level there.
Nobody can relate to that.
Right. And the worst part is because in America, you're taught that for example, you go into movies, the killer is the one who's glorified. When you think about all the movies, go to your scare movies. You don't think about the person who survived. The only person who's glorified is who? Michael Myers, Jason. So now, then when you go to the other movies, ain't nobody in there glorified who's trying to do right. You know who's glorified? When you look at Boys in the Hood, you would rather hear people talk about Furious, who was Trey Dad. No, you hear about Doughboy. You hear about basically the gangsters, the ones who shoot, kill, and sell and dope. In America, the person who is victimized is never glorified, or the person who stands for right is never glorified. It's always the person who is doing the evil. The reason I say that is to say that in this boy's case, he's a victim of that same living that you Israelites face. That's why the scripture said that. And like I said, we talked about this stuff 2 years ago. And it said in America, the evil is glorified, the suspect is glorified, the victim is ostracized and talked down on. Doesn't that sound like a lot? That sounds a lot like why I just recently did a class and I was talking about how because sin was going to be put on high, sin would abound and be put on high. The love of many would wax cold. You see that today. Sin is glorified. Therefore, you get the results that you get. It's crazy. Like I said, all this stuff is 2 years ago, but You dive back in it and break it all back down again today.
On a day-to-day basis. He is the victim that is looked at as the bad guy. Because in America, the victim is always the one that's wrong, and the one who did wrong is the one who's always glorified. The person who died, he used to sell drugs, he used to do this and do that, and the person who killed him, man, that's a real nigga, bro. He'll kill you, he'll murder him.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been that way in America. Why? Because America was built on the wrong, on lies, on thievery, murders. Right. So there we have it. All right. So those two situations that happened, and I'm like, of course, you know, I can't go into too deep anything that would expose anybody. So I'm gonna leave it there. But I was just thinking about the level of sickness in Israel that still lies today. Now, when we go back to Deuteronomy, and I tell you that though Deuteronomy 28 and the verses we read about the evil eye apply back.
All right, so those were two stories that we covered from council situations 2 years ago. Good to reflect on it. I mean, and you can basically see things we were talking about then, how they play and they're affecting us now. See, you know what I'm saying? It's rare that anything happens right away. That's why this is good for reports, because something happens here and then it builds, and then 2 years later we're at this point of what happened because of that. And so yeah, man, that's what it is. So now, happy new moon. Happy new moon from One Nation. And let's do real quick, and it won't be long tonight. All right, so let's go to Psalms. Psalms chapter 81. Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3. Psalms 81 and 3, and it reads, and blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel and the law of the God of Jacob. So to blow the trumpet, Salakia, over the new moon, feast and burnt offerings is a law. Well, let's go get the law. Numbers chapter 10, verse 10. Numbers chapter 10, verse 10. I'll give me a second. For those of you who might not have a trumpet, we'll read Numbers 10 and 10, and then I will blow the trumpet. Numbers chapter 10, verse 10. Numbers chapter 10 and verse 10, and it reads, also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in your serious days, and in your Salakia. Also in the days of Salakia. Let me read, start over. 10 verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginning of your months, which is the new moon, ye shall blow with a trumpet over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be a memorial, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. Now, we'll blow the trumpet for those who may not have one. Amen. So it says, on the new moon, no, it says, in your days of gladness and in your solemn days and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow the trumpet over burnt offerings and over sacrifices and peace offerings, that they may be to you a memorial before the Lord your God. I am the Lord your God. Right, the part that we want for tonight, it says, in the beginning of your months. So at the beginning of the months, we blow the trumpet over our food or our offering and such, right? So we blow the trumpet over our at the beginning of your months. What is the beginning of our months? Let's see what that is. So we're gonna go to Sam. Okay, we're going to Samuel's 1 Samuel chapter 20. And we're going to start at verse 18. 1 Samuel 20, 18. 1 Samuel 20 and 18. And it reads, Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed because thy seat will be empty. So Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new moon. Let's see, when did the new moon fall? And he said he will be missed because the seat will be empty. So obviously the new moon was something that people went somewhere and showed up and they had seats and everything else. So it says tomorrow's the new moon. Well, let's see what day was the new moon. Is this the beginning of the months that Numbers was talking about? Let's read it. I'm going to jump over to verse 24. And it reads, So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat down to eat meat. So they keep saying this new moon, okay. And the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon the seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side. And David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spent not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. He expected that this man was clean because he wasn't in a holy assembly. Okay. Because there was laws that were set in place that would forbid you from being at that solemn assembly if you were unclean. So that's why he said he got to be unclean. Surely unclean, because nobody would just miss the new moon for any reason. Just no, especially not if there's laws pertaining to it. But let's just find out exactly when is it. So read on. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty, and Saul said unto Jonathan, his son, Whence cometh not the son of Jesse to eat meat, neither yesterday nor today? And all right, so the point that we were looking at, verse 27, saying it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day. So the first day is the beginning day. That day was called the new moon. So when the Numbers 10 told us to blow the trumpet at the beginning of our months, it was talking about that first day, which is labeled the new moon. So there's laws pertaining to this day. So obviously, it's a high day that must be kept. It's not something that you keep in low regards. All right. So here we get twofold. We get the history of our forefathers keeping it and how serious it was for people to be there, because you wouldn't just miss it unless you were unclean. And then we get the time that it happens. So now we knocked out a lot with that one verse. So let's go back Numbers 10 and 10. Well, we ain't got to go back because Numbers 10 and 10 told us to blow a trumpet over sacrifices and peace offerings and all of that. So let's go real quick. How do we get a peace offering today? Because we don't sacrifice. So we're going to go to Sirach 35 and verse 1. Sirach 35 and verse 1. And it reads, he that keepeth the law bringeth offering enough, and he that taketh heed to the commandments offereth a peace offering. So we essentially do all in all by keeping God's laws and keeping his commandments. But if that there wasn't enough, because for you to keep God's laws, commandments, and keep God's laws, statutes, for you to keep his laws and his commandments means that you're going to have to walk a certain way. You know, it's going to involve changing and then disciplining you walk in a certain way. For you to ultimately become this sacrifice. Why? Because to keep God's law, statutes, and commandments is going to be a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice. You have to die daily. You have to sacrifice your own wants and everything else to keep God's laws. But that is becoming giving your life. Giving your life. What is a sacrifice? Sacrifice dies. Sacrifice is something that is giving for the better of something else. You sacrificing your life, meaning your own wants, your own wills, to do the Most High's will. Let's go to Romans 12 and 1. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. And it reads, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice. So you didn't necessarily die for this time. A living sacrifice. To be living means to have life. To have life means you keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So it says that you present your bodies a reasonable, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. Meaning it's the least you can do. It's the least you can do. It's the least you can do. You're alive. Sacrifice your wants and your thing to live the life that would be approved of the man who actually who spilled blood for your iniquity. So you don't have to sacrifice the way that you want to live to satisfy him, because he gave his life for your foolishness. You know what I'm saying? So now you gotta pay that back. So at least you could do. I mean, let's go to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, and it reads, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. And this is it. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of men. So when it says the least you can do, it's serious. Keep the commandments. So now we get it. Now we understand what are the sacrifices for the new moon. We understand what the new moon is. We understand what day it falls on. Now we just have to kind of track it out of everything. How will we go initially to know about the new moon? How will we know what is the moon like? What is this whole shit about? In other words, some people would say it that way. We'll go to Sirach chapter 43. Sirach chapter. Okay, sorry. Sirach 43:6. Sirach chapter 43, verse 6. Sirach 43:6, and it reads, He made the moon also to serve in her seasons for a declaration of time and a sign of the world. So it says, He made the moon to serve in her seasons as a declaration of time and signs of the world. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And it reads, And God said, Let there be light in the firmaments of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So these things calculate. They calculate time for us. It says, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light unto the earth. And it was so. And it was so. So these two lights, they rule things. They make signs for times, right? Then it says, and God made two great lights. The greater light ruled the day, and the lesser light ruled the night. He made the stars also. So now it says that between these two lights, they will represent signs, days, years, times, right? So then we go back to Sirach 43, and it tells us, Sirach 43:6, He made the moon also to serve in her seasons for a declaration of times and signs of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument in the armies above, shining in the firmaments of heaven. So when we read this, when it tells us how to tell when feasts are coming, the times of the world coming, all of that, it mentioned only the moon. The sun is only mentioned to what? Give you light to do your labors in the day. But for us to tell time, signs, feast, and all that, it gave us the moon. So the new moon tells us new months. And based off of new months, we know feasts come. Okay, so is it morning to morning or is it evening to evening? I would have to say it is evening to evening. The moon is the one that is being descriptively, the moon, the light of the moon specifically is what has been told to us for us to be able to read feast and everything else. But that's just what it is. So the new moon is broken down like that, and it says the month is called after a name. It says let's read it again to keep thought fresh. For the moon, verse 7, from the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. A light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing. It's letting you understand that we go with the moon, it is a light. It decreases, it increases. It decreases, it increases. But in the midst of that, what you don't understand is there's a cycle to it. You have a point where the moon, okay, let's put it like this. You have a black sky. Then a light starts to appear. That first glimpse of the light, isn't that first thing that popped up, isn't that new? And then it grows and then it reaches a full point. It's full grown. Yet to hear anybody call a full grown adult new. or a full-grown dog new, or a car that somebody's been driving for the last 10 years new. No, I haven't heard that. But what happens is so you have a cycle of the moon. You have a point where the moon may be full. Then you have a point where it decreases till you see absolutely no moon. Okay. The moon starts over. When the moon isn't visual anymore, you would say there is no moon. The first time you see a spectacle, you would say that's new. It grows, it becomes full, and reaches at a full adult stage, and then it starts to decay. Starts to decay till it what? Vanishes. Just like the cycle of life. You're a newborn baby, you grow to a full-grown person, and then you start to decay until you leave and vanish. And somebody else comes, and then they're new. I've yet to see them put your 87-year ass in the ground. I've yet to see them put an 80. I bet you when they put you in the ground, if you make it that far, your 87-year-old ass, when they put you in the ground, they're gonna say that's a brand new man. So like it. So yeah. So yes, but that's the new moon. So it's like it decreases and increases. But when you see no moon in the sky, we prepare for the new moon. And then when you see it full in the sky, it's getting ready to start decaying again. So that means the moon has hit its full potential, and now it's going to start to decay. So at that point, it's full grown. When it's first spotted, it's new. And by that cycle, in the midst of that, we're able to calculate when the feast days are. All right. So now on the new moon, that's a special day. You heard what he said, man. He didn't come to eat meat with the king today or tomorrow or the day afterwards. I mean, man, you couldn't make it to the new moon, but you could have showed up at least day 2. I mean, you already missed the new moon, but it's just like, and look, the second day ain't important. But anywho, you gotta ask yourself, why is this day so important? Why is it so important? What's so important about this day? You know what I'm saying? What's so important about it? Why do we hold it in such high regard? It's just a normal day, right? Let's go to Sirach. Lord have mercy. I hate when I do that. Let me find it. Yeah, I know I'm going. Put it in the comments. That was 43. If it's not there, let's check here. All right, Sirach 33 in verse 7. Sirach chapter 33, verse 7, and it reads. Well, I'm gonna start at 7. Uh-oh. It says, Sirach 33 and 7. Why does one day excel another, when all the light of every day in the year is of the sun? So every day of the year, it has sunlight in it. Why is one day better than another? By the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished. He altered seasons and feasts. So by the knowledge of the Most High, by his knowledge and by his laws, because knowledge equals the laws too. By his laws, they were distinguished, meaning they were separated. They were made different. Every day ain't the same, just like every person ain't the same. Though y'all though America and people don't want you to face the reality and the truth of that. That's just what it is. Let's read it again. It says, why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day of the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of the Lord they were distinguished. He altered seasons and feasts. Some of them have he made high days and hallowed them. When it says he hallowed them, some of those days he made them high days, and he's made those days holy. And some of them have he made ordinary days. So and then some days are just regular days. That's just what it is. But by the Lord's say and by his laws, he separated and made this day better than this day, and that day better than that day. And that day is just a regular day. By the knowledge of the Most High, they were distinguished. So now we've got history on keeping it. We've got what day it falls on. We've got what it is. We got what the sacrifices are for those particular days and for that day. Now, the basics. Let's go to Amos 8 and 5. And then we'll touch a couple more and get out of here. Amos chapter 8 and verse 5. Amos chapter 8 and verse 5. And it reads, saying, when will the new moon be gone that we may sell? When will the new moon be gone that we may sell? When will the new moon be gone that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath that we may set forth the wheat, and make ephah small, and the shekels, and falsifying the balances by deceit? The reason why they said when will the new moon be gone, because they were out of the fucking spirit and they wanted their money, or whatever it can be. They wanted their money, and we would not buy of them on the new moon. So therefore, the history shows that we do not buy on the new moon. All right. And I guess by default, common sense would tell you that if we don't buy on a new moon, common sense will tell you that we also don't what? We don't sell on a new moon. Now, buying and selling are all a parts of people's what? Daily life, or put like this, selling may be a part of someone's occupation. So if nobody is buying and nobody is selling, what does it tell you that people are not doing on that day? They are not working. Which you can go read Leviticus 23, 1 through 4, and get your understanding on that. I'm trying to think, am I forgetting something? Let's go to Nehemiah we'll finish there. I really don't remember. 13. All right, so Nehemiah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 19. And it reads, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. Whew, excuse me. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should be no burdens brought in on the day of brought in on the Sabbath day. So merchants and sellers of all kind were aware, lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? The hell y'all doing out here? What you doing all this stuff? Why you standing by the fence for? I tell you what. If you do so again, I will lay hands on you. I'm saying, I'm gonna beat that ass if I catch y'all out here again. Get your little ragged ass carts, put all your stink ass corn and your fake chains and stuff, and take that on down the road now. I see if that was me, I could hit. See, I could have played Nehemiah. I could have did. Man, get that stupid shit from in front of this fence. What y'all doing? You see, we trying to keep the Sabbath over here. Bruh, pack your shit up and get from around here, dog. I'm telling you. Come back around with that silly shit. I'm gonna get on your ass, dog. Come back again, I'm get on your ass. You know what I'm saying? Nehemiah, amen. See, let me read on. I told y'all, I felt. It says, so the merchants and sellers of all kind of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth, they came no more on the Sabbath because they understood. See what I'm saying? Yeah, oil and grease them, getting some grease lightning on them. Put some grease lightning on their asses. So that was how serious our people was about keeping the Sabbaths and the new moons, that we were willing to put hands on you if it just looked like what you were doing. Salakia, we were willing to put hands on you if that was going to stop the other brothers from sinning. Stop bringing your bringing all types of evil temptations amongst our people. And that's how we got to be about the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments now. We got to be about it. We'd be like, man, like Nehemiah, we will put hands on you behind this. Now, don't y'all go out there and start jumping on people. All right. With that, I pray that y'all took something from the new moon, even though we go over it a lot. Pray that y'all have a good one. Pray that your foods is well within their stomachs. And Lord's will, we meet soon. Spares our life. Shalom, Most High, Christ, happy new moon. Most High in Christ, glory to the Father. Shalom. Shalom.